This is the Spotlight segment. Stay tuned for premium interviews, device unboxing and more.
Now we're going to turn to the second half of our double bill, and Warren reviews the Nothing Phone 2.
Hi, this is Warren Carr from Blind Android Users Podcast. This is reviewing the Nothing2 phone. In my last week's unboxing of the Nothing2 phone, I forgot to mention something, and that has to do with the fact that the phone supports dual SIM cards. In other words, it has 2 nano SIM card slots. When you push out the SIM tray, you will find that one slot on the back of the tray and the other slot in the front. Thus, you can use 2 nano SIM cards. This phone definitely is intended for the markets outside the United States. I also would like to mention that the phone has a capacity of 4700 milliamp for the battery, as to the 4500 milliamp of the Nothing Phone 1. Also, the phone is a 6.7 inch, as to the 6.5 inch of the Nothing 1 phone. In this review, I'll be looking at these areas: setup and language selection screen, SIM card, your information, biometrics, agreement and optional stuff, restoring your apps, software, looking at the system settings, the glyph and the glyph composer, screen reader action support, the camera, audio and microphone, updates and security patches, and 13, the last but not the least, conclusion, my thoughts. Now let's get to business. When you power up the Nothing2 phone, the first thing that comes up, of course, is that setup screen. If you have some sight, you'll see one bright red button in the middle of the phone. That's the Get Started or the Next button. Of course, this is the screen where you enable accessibility, as you heard during my unboxing. I also mentioned in that unboxing that it does not support the 2-finger hold down on the face of the phone to enable accessibility. Thus, you must use the 2-volume key hold down in order to enable accessibility. Once you enable accessibility, something very important here is that you are on that language selection. By default, this comes with the UK English or UK Voices and UK English as a default. So if you're not interested in using the UK English or the UK Voices, then you want to make sure that you tap on that language selector and choose your language, or choose the English variant that you want if you're an English user and you wanted to use something other than the UK English. If you don't, you will wind up using the English UK, and even when you go add another language, another variant, for example, I learned the hard way that you can't even make that second one become your default. So something to keep in mind. Next, once you get past that setup screen, the next screen we come to is the screen that asks for your SIM card. If you have a SIM card, you can put it in, and regrettably, I want to mention here that it does not have eSIM card support. I was looking forward to it so I could test it on my network, that is the Google Fi Wireless, and it did not, so I never got to try this phone with a regular phone call, although I used it with some VoIP such as Google Voice, Telegram, Google Meet, etc. Now, in the next screen, that is step 4, we're talking about inputting your PIN from the old phone to unencrypt if you're going to be bringing your stuff from your older phone. And after putting all of your information with your Google information and all of that, then you come to that where it asks for your PIN and all of that from the old phone. And then once you tap on Next, then you come to the biometrics. During my first setup, though, I didn't see anything other than either using my PIN or using my fingerprint reader. I did not see the face unlock until I finished setting it up, and after a couple updates, then I saw the face unlock in the system and system security and biometrics. I would like to mention that the fingerprint on this phone is not bad at all. It's an optical fingerprint, but I think it's the ultrasonic one because it behaves just as good as the one that I have on the Samsung phone. And it's a little bit lower than any other finger or in-glass fingerprint I've seen. It's closer to the dark area than the one you see on Samsung or on Google. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. Next, we go to now number 5, and here's where we find the agreement, and this agreement comes from the Nothing, and some of these things are optional, so you choose the things that you want to be part of and things that you don't want to be part of.
Terms and conditions, heading. Important. Before using the device, please read the following terms and conditions carefully. By using the device, you are agreeing to be bound by the Nothing End User License Agreement. Your information will be managed according to Nothing's privacy policy at all times. End User License Agreement. Privacy Policy.
And I'll tap Agree at the bottom right.
Agree, button. Setup Wizard Overlay. Experience Improvement Programs, heading.
Here we come across something called Experience Improvement Program. Here's what that has to say.
Experience Improvement Programs, heading. User Experience Program. The program collects product usage data to improve our products without infringing upon privacy.
And we got check marks if you could turn them on or turn them off.
Switch on.
Okay?
System Stability Program. Join the System Stability Program to help us troubleshoot Nothing OS faster.
And that's switched on.
Switch on. Nothing Notifications. Enable notifications for surveys and product updates.
And that by default also switched on.
Switch on.
And you can turn these things off if you don't want them on. Number 6, restoring your apps. Here, you now pass this and you can now choose to restore your apps. And if you're like me, I had like over 365 or 300 whatever apps in there waiting for me. And I just decided to restore it. Of course, it shows the restore points. And that's the one thing I like about this phone. It shows you which phones you have. And I chose to restore from my Pixel 7 Pro. I do want to mention here in passing that if you choose to restore your apps from a previous backup from your account, that it does not restore folders. So for example, with my 360-something apps, what wound up happening is that it dumped all of these onto home screens, meaning I wound up having like 16 home screens. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 7. Now let's talk about software, looking at the system settings. I am now on my home screen and I'll navigate to the system settings. So I show you what we have in the system settings. I don't want to make this so long, so I'm going to be rushing through these. I do want to mention here that it doesn't have that boomy sound of the Pixel phones, so it's a little bit lighter.
Accessibility volume set to 50%.
So I'm turning it up a little bit higher. And now I'm going to go into the system settings.
Notification shade. Quick settings. Page 1 of 2. Page 1 of 3. Expanded.
We are now in the quick panel area, the quick settings. And I do want to mention here that it has 3 rows of items. So at the very top, you have a perpetual Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on the top, and then you have the other ones. And I also want to mention here in passing that where it says Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, you can just tap on that and it does not turn them off. For example, if I put my finger down.
Wi-Fi. The mesh. Switch. On. Wi-Fi signal full.
Now, if it was some other phone, if I tap here, it will turn off my Wi-Fi. But if I tap here, it will take me to the Wi-Fi area. This is what I'm talking about.
Internet. Wi-Fi cert internet.
There it is. Takes me to that without turning it off. And the same thing is true with the Bluetooth. I think that's beautiful. Now, I do want to mention that the images above the labeling, because they kind of didn't label them right. So for example, if I move my finger up above where it says Wi-Fi,
unlabeled.
It says
text
unlabeled and said detected Fi. I move my finger right to the Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. Page 1 of 2. Bluetooth.
And
Switch
if I
on.
move my finger up,
Unlabeled.
it says unlabeled. So the labelings didn't get directly on the button. Rather, they are found below the buttons. These are the only two buttons that I seem to see it having that type of labeling. Now let's go down now and tap on that open settings. And I do want to mention that this thing is so much like a Pixel. So in other words, this is a breed between the Fruitvale phone and a Pixel phone. So if you want a Pixel phone, but you don't want the Pixel phone from Google, you can get this one. And if you don't like a Fruitvale, but you want something that feels like the Fruitvale, then you get this Nothing2 phone. All right, let's tap on that.
One app. Open settings.
Open settings.
Power menu. Button. Settings.
Now,
Search settings.
I am in the system settings, and at the top, we've got the couple items. That is, we got the
Network and internet. Mobile. Wi-Fi. Hotspot.
network and internet, and that's on the left and to the right of it.
Connected devices. Bluetooth. Pairing.
So those are sitting up there at the top. And now, below that, everything now goes down in a list. And this is what we got.
Apps. Recent apps. Default apps.
Next.
Notifications. Notification history. Conversations. Glyph interface. Customize ringtones and more.
We'll come back to the Glyph interface and the Glyph composer and all of that. But as you can see, everything is so much like a Pixel phone except this Glyph interface.
Battery. 63% 1 hour. 7 minutes left until full.
I got it charging, and I got it charging with a very slow cable.
Storage. 18% use 209 gigabytes free.
This is a 256 gigs version.
Sound and vibration. Volume. Vibration. Do not disturb.
Next.
Display. Dark theme. Font size. Brightness.
Next.
Lock screen. Shortcuts. Widgets. Always on display.
Next.
Customization. Wallpapers. Colors. Icon pack. App grid.
Next.
Accessibility. Display. Interaction. Audio.
Next.
Security and privacy. App security. Device lock. Permissions.
This is where you'll see the fingerprint reader and the face unlock. Next.
Location. On 5 apps have access to location.
Next.
Safety and emergency. Emergency SOS. Medical info. Alerts.
Next.
Passwords and accounts. Saved passwords. Autofill. Synced accounts.
Next.
Digital well-being and parental controls. Screen time. App timers. Bedtime schedules.
Next.
Google. Services and preferences.
Next.
Experimental features. Try upcoming features in advance.
We'll take a look at that besides the Glyph interface.
System. Languages. Gestures. Time. Backup.
And this is where you'll find things about security patches. And by the way, this does a 3-year OS support and a 4-year security patch bi-monthly.
About phone. Nothing phone 2.
And that's the last item. Unlike the Pixel, we don't have the tips and support at the bottom of that. Now, let's go back near the top now and look at the experimental things and see what that has to talk about before we look at the Glyph interface.
Experimental features. Try upcoming features in advance.
Let's go ahead and tap.
Experimental features. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
I'll now put my finger down near the top and hear what this area says.
Connect to Tesla. Control your Tesla easily from the phone. 1 of 4. In list. 4 items.
So if you have that Tesla hiding somewhere in your garage, you can use this to connect to it. Next item.
AirPods support. Show AirPods icon and battery info in your settings. Switch. Off. 2 of 4.
Moving on.
Enhanced touch response. Improve touch response speed for specific games. Enabling this feature will increase battery usage. Switch. Off. 3 of 4.
And
Glyph progress. Integrate the glyph interface with third-party apps, 4 of 4.
And so that will be, third-party apps that one could interface with the glyph interface and all of that. Now, let's go back now and move to that glyph interface that I was talking about.
Experimental features. Try upcoming features in advance, in list.
I will now scroll up and find that glyph interface.
Glyph interface. Customize ringtones and more.
Here we are, and we can tap here to go customize the glyph.
Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
And if you don't know what the glyph is, we're talking about the back of the phone actually shows you lights and all of that. We mentioned this in our podcast last year. We actually dubbed it the Christmas tree maker. And so I may be using these words interchangeably, but the correct term is the glyph interface. I like to call it the Christmas tree maker. And so here we are on that screen.
Glyph interface. Auto brightness switch. Button. Selected. In list.
And then near the top, just on the right, we got the first item there.
Ringtones. Crossing.
Ringtone is crossing. And then below that, we got
Notifications. Oi.
notification. Oi, 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 oi. And then below that, across the screen,
Glyph lights. Switch. On.
we come across the glyph light and it's turned on by default. Now below that, we have a heading that says
Features. Heading.
Features heading. And below that on the left,
Flip to glyph. Silence on demand.
there's the flip to glyph and
Switch. Off.
it is off. And to the right of that,
Glyph timer. Visual countdown.
there's the visual countdown. And then below here, we've got,
Composer. Create your own ringtone sound pack.
we have the composer where you can create your own sound packs and all of that. If you tab here, it will take you to the Play Store where you can install it. I have installed it. Let me tap here to show you what I'm
Composer.
talking about.
Library. Button. Disabled. Out of list.
Because I have it installed, when I tap on it, it launches the app. But if you haven't installed it, it doesn't come installed by default. You have to go to the Play Store to install it. So if you tap here, it will take you to the Play Store. And that's how you can compose your own ringtones and stuff like that. Let's scroll down. Next, we got
Visual feedback. Heading.
visual feedback. And this is where all those dancing lights would be showing at the back.
Volume indicator. Audio level at a glance. Showing items 1 to 7 of 11.
Moving on,
Switch. On.
that is switched on.
Google Assistant. Visual response.
If you want to see the response visually,
Switch. On.
it's also switched on. Next,
Charging meter. Wiggle for progress. Showing items 5 to 11 of 11.
and
Switch. On.
it is switched on.
Glyph progress. Third-party integrations.
That's the one we saw earlier in the experimental stuff.
Turn off automatically. Heading.
And we come across something that says turn off automatically. And here's what we got.
Bedtime schedule. 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Weekdays.
And basically it grabbed that from the restoration that I restored it from my phone when I did the setup.
Bedtime schedule. Switch off.
It is off. If I turn it on, then it will be doing what my other phones have. And now the last item here at the bottom is something that is of importance, and it has to do with those lights because they can be awfully bright. And this is what it's saying about that.
The glyph interface may not be safe for those with epilepsy and other conditions with sensitivity to light.
And that's what I would like you to take note of if you're sensitive to light or if you have some epileptic tendencies. You may want to avoid this if it triggers what ails you. Let's go back.
Settings. Glyph interface. Customize ringtones and more. In list.
And while we're still here in the glyph area, I thought we might as well just go ahead and take a quick look at the Glyph Composer. As I indicated earlier, if you install it, when you tap on the Glyph Composer or Creator, it will take you to the Play Store before you can install it. I have done so, and I'll tap here and show you how you can compose your own ringtones or whatever.
Composer. Create your own ringtone sound pack.
So we tap,
Composer. Library. Button. Disabled. Out of list.
tapping on that now places us in the library, which is on the top left corner. And then toward the bottom, in the middle, not all the way to the bottom, but maybe 3/4 down, on the left
Start recording. Button.
is a start recording. There are some graphical things in the middle of the phone that the screen reader doesn't tell you what it is. And so that's not a problem.
606. Button.
There's something that says 606 to the right of that record button. Now below that record button, we've got some items. We've got on the left, we got
Key left top. Button.
key left top, and at the bottom of it,
Key left bottom. Button.
then in the middle,
Key center. Button.
and then to the right, we've got on the top
Key right top. Button.
and at the bottom.
Key right bottom. Button.
All those things are there at the bottom of that record. Now, if you tap on any of this, it makes sound. So I'm going to tap on, for example, the key left top
Key left top. Button.
and the one below it,
Key left bottom. But.
and tap on the center,
Key center. Button.
make a doom sound. And then we go to the key top right and key top right bottom
Key right top. Button.
and bottom.
Key right bottom.
There we go. Now, in order to record your own, you first have to tap on the record.
Start recording.
Start
Button.
recording.
Close. Button.
And we heard close. Now, if I just tap these things random, let's say I start here with the left-hand side
Key left top. Button.
and
Key left bottom.
I tap the
Key
middle.
center.
I mean, that's a boring way of creating.
Key right bottom.
And once you do, there's a
Button.
save button, and at the bottom of it
Discard.
is a
Button.
discard. And so it's up to you. I'm going to click discard, but you can play what you just composed to hear what it sounds like. So that record button now becomes the play button.
Play. Button.
And if I tap there,
Pause.
there we go. So now, if I were doing them in rapid succession, for example, so
Discard.
I'm going to
Button.
discard,
Discard composition.
and
Your
it says,
composition will not be saved. This action cannot be
do I want to discard it?
Discard.
And I say discard.
Composer.
So I'm going to tap record
Key left top.
and do them in
Start recording.
rapid succession, see what happens.
Close. Button. Key. Navigate up.
Oh,
Button.
then it says, I've had enough. Okay, I'm going to play it.
Play. Button. Pause.
As you can see, I'm a bad composer.
Save. But discard.
So I discard that.
Discard.
There we go.
Composer.
That is the
Glyph interface.
composer right
Settings.
there.
Glyph interface.
So that is the UI. The UI is so much pixel in every single way except for those very few things I just showed you. Now let's move on to the next item, and we're talking about screen reader action support. Now, what do I mean by screen reader action support? In other words, I'm talking about the fact that the launcher does support the actions. So for example,
Speechify.
if I put my finger on Speechify and I swipe down,
Shortcuts and notifications.
and I swipe down again,
Move item.
move item,
Add to home screen.
and add to home screen. It's already on my home screen though. This is not the fault of the phone. It's the fault of the screen reader. And so it does support screen reader action support. In other words, you can also drag items and move them around. I'll try one of those. Double tap.
Shortcuts. Remove home. Move to row 2 column 2. Create folder with multilingual create
So
folder
you see,
with item
there it is. And so it does support that. Now the next thing is number 10, and we're talking about the camera. And this is one of those things that is not so bueno for those of us who are blind. In other words, it doesn't tell you as to whether or not there are any faces in the view of your camera. I'll tap here and show you, and the camera is found exactly where the pixel camera is found, at the bottom right corner. Another thing I want to mention here is that you can actually remove the search bar at the bottom of the screen. I'll show you that after I show you the camera. So let's go here.
Camera.
Tap.
Camera. Inner image. Button. Showing items 1 to 4 of 4.
And that's it. It doesn't tell you anything. So even if I say, hey, switch on to the front shooter.
Take photo. Image. Google photo gallery.
So at the bottom left, we got photo gallery.
Google Lens BTN.
There's
Button.
the Google Lens.
Take photo.
Take photo.
Image. Switch to front camera.
Switch
Image.
to front camera. I'm going to switch to the front camera. It sees if it sees my handsome face there. Dampanier. Nope, doesn't tell me whether I'm good for a selfie and all of that. So if you're a selfie, this is not going to work for you. So tap back and now move back to the rear of the the rear view. And then, of course, at the top, we've got near the top left, starting from
Flash off.
this
Image.
flash off,
Inner image. Image.
inner image,
Filter off.
filter
Image.
off,
Inner image. Button.
and another inner image there on the top right, which I think maybe is the settings. Let's tap here and see. Tapping on that,
Motion photo.
we got motion photo.
On. Off. So ratio. 4.
Yeah, so
16.
definitely on the top right there
Phone.
is
Cam-
that settings for the camera. Now, I mentioned something about the fact that you can remove the search bar at the bottom of the phone. So if you're not fond of the Google search bar that goes across the bottom of your phone below the dock, you can actually remove it here on the Nothing2 phone. I'll show you how you go about removing that. And so we go into the system settings. I'll now navigate to the system settings
Notificate. Quick settings.
and
Open settings.
open
Power
settings.
menu.
I am now in the settings, that is the system settings. And we need to go to,
Customization. Wallpapers. Colors. Icon pack. App grid.
and tap.
Customization. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Here in customization, that has to do with all of the
Wallpaper and style. Select wallpapers and color themes.
wallpapers and all of that. What we're looking for is,
Adjust grid. Icon label. And search bar on the home screen.
that's the one we want. So we tap here.
Home screen layout. Navigate up. But
And below here, we got,
app grid. 4 columns. In list. 4. Selected. 5. App label. Display app label on home screen. Switch on.
and then we have,
Search bar. Display search bar in the dock. Switch on.
and if I turn this off,
Off.
bye-bye, the Google search bar at the bottom is gone. I also do want to mention here in passing that there's something here that is not accessible to us. In other words, you can double tap anywhere on the screen to shut off the screen without needing to hit the power. But if you have TalkBack running, it's not going to work for you. Also, it does not have the quick tap that we have on the Pixel phone. That is, you can turn on the quick tap, so you could double tap at the back to launch the assistant or launch whatever you want to assign it to. That is absent here. That's another subtle difference that we have as to the Pixel phone. Now let's move on now, and we are talking about item number 11, and I'm talking about audio and microphone. I regret to say that I am not pleased with this recording, or the recording on this phone. It sounds a little bit compressed, and frankly, it really doesn't sound all that bueno. I have a couple items that I have recorded using both the IP3 recorder and the ASR audio sound recorder. I will now play those things back to back for your own hearing. Hi, this is testing the Nothing2 mic using the ASR recorder. I am dead in the middle, and now moving my head to the right. I am speaking from the right end of the phone, and now moving back to the center and moving my head now to the left I'm speaking from the left, and now back to the center. This is testing the Nothing2 phone microphone. Hi, this is testing the HiQ MP3 recorder and doing this test on the Nothing2 microphone, trying to see what it sounds like. I'll now move my head to the right side of the phone, and I'm talking from the right side. Now moving my head back to the center, and now moving toward the left. I'm now thus speaking from the left, and now back to the center of the phone. Again, this is testing the phone using the HiQ MP3 recorder. Next, let's move on to the next item, and that will be updates and security patches. The updates are 3 years, and the security patches are bi-monthly for 4 years. I will now show you what it sounds like when you reach the screen. I will now play for you what I heard when I was doing the 2 system updates that I got in the way of the security patches. Right now is sitting at the June 1st security patch.
Dear user of the Nothing Phone 2, we are thrilled to have you here as we start this new and exciting journey together. This update is the first of many as we continuously work to deliver the best possible experience for Nothing OS. We listen closely to the feedback of our user community and make sure that your voices are heard. Today, we have included a selection of design-related features, a massive camera app update, as well as a wide range of improvements and bug fixes that will hopefully make your everyday usage of the phone 2 a more delightful experience. Thank you for choosing to believe in us. Warm regards. The Nothing team. New features. Piano Glyph Composer is now live on the Play Store. Use the app to create and record your very own Glyph ringtones. Car introducing Glyph Progress for Uber. Check the progress of an incoming Uber ride via the Glyph interface. This feature is currently in an experimental phase, so you may experience some inconsistencies. Lock widgets can now be added to your lock screen always on display. Available to set up on the lock screen settings page. Gear Quick Settings widgets. Add your most used quick settings tiles directly to your home or lock screen. Musical Note reworked popular Nothing machine ringtones and notification sounds from Phone 1 adjusted to match the new segmented design of Phone 2. Framed Picture 4 new wallpapers. Hand-waving one-handed mode. Camera. Magnifying glass portrait mode now supports 2x zoom. Man-running motion capture is now supported in 50 megapixels mode. Bookmark introduced a brand new Nothing style photo watermark. Glowing Star optimized the HDR effectiveness across the board. 1 optimized photo clarity when shooting between 4x and 10x zoom. Partying face improved camera quality when used in third-party apps. Film projector reduced lag and optimized stabilization algorithm when shooting videos. Improvements. Battery improved battery and charging performance in extreme conditions. High voltage improved the consistency of wireless charging and battery share. Lock improved face unlock and fingerprint sensor performance. Level slider regulated system sounds volume across the board. Light bulb optimized essential notification and other Glyph interface logic. Bug fixes. Gear resolved quick settings expansion issue. Antenna bars improved network stability. Vibration mode resolved NFC related issue. Alien monster more general bug fixes. System update available.
That's the update it got. 13. Conclusion. My thoughts. Something I forgot to mention is the battery, which is very important. I do want to mention here that the battery is very good, actually a whole lot better than what I got on my Pixel 7 Pro. As a matter of fact, for not being a very heavy phone user, the battery lasted me like 48 hours or 49 hours. So battery-wise, this thing is not bad at all since it's utilizing that Snapdragon 8 Gen Plus 1. And it's just battery management is very good when compared to what the Pixel 7 Pro has. Now, as a whole, this is not a bad phone. If you're someone who wants something that feels like a Fruitvale device, that is an Apple phone, and yet you want something that is stock, that is something that feels like a Pixel software-wise, this is the phone to go for. Given the price, this is absolutely a nice phone to buy if you have the money to buy it. If it's falling within the budget that you would like to spend it on, this would be something to go for. Of course, it's running Nothing2 OS, but like I said, it's very clean and it's just like a Pixel phone without the Pixel branding, with the exception of those compose the things that we talk about. And that's how the system looks like. So just give it a try if it's something you want to. But if it's not what you want to, if you're like me and kind of don't like the power on the right hand side and the volume keys on the other side, then you don't need this phone. Or if you're someone who want to be able to have access to an eSIM support and that's important to you, then this is not your phone. Overall, again, this is a great phone, and thanks for listening to our audio review of the Nothing phone.
So, Warren, I have a question and then I have to point out a mistake. Did you play any audio on the Nothing Phone 2? And the only reason I ask is because on the Nothing Phone 1 that I played with very briefly, I noticed that the top speaker was really weak. They'd used the earpiece essentially, which I thought was very 2019, 2020. Like it wasn't a proper top firing speaker. You can route it and overclock it, obviously, but then it will break. Have you played audio on the Nothing Phone 2, and is that any better, or have they done the same thing?
So I never had the Nothing one, so I can't compare. But this one sounds very good. And the reason I didn't play any audio in my review is because I don't want any copyright strikes. And so I deliberately choose not to play any audio. But audio sounds good. I don't have any complaints in that department at all.
Yeah, you'd notice if it didn't. Like, I don't think it's a comparison on the one. They've improved it then. And this is the problem with being on YouTube, you see, because if it was just a podcast, no one would care.
Exactly.
But apparently we have to have stuff on YouTube, so people do. But yeah, no, it's good. You would notice. And you made a mistake, Warren.
What did I do? I had a headache anyways.
No, but you claimed that the camera did not tell you when you switched to the front that your face is in the frame.
It did not.
No, and that's because it has built-in AI and it knows that no one wants pictures of your ugly face.
Yeah, but
So
I
it
wasn't.
just
I was doing an audio review. I wasn't doing a video review.
no, but a picture would have been taken from that camera, and it knows that the world does not need photos of your face.
No,
That's what
but
it
here,
is.
That's
here,
not
here's the,
very nice.
no. Let me. I'll put him in his place. When you switch to the front camera on any phone, it does not automatically take a picture of you, my friend. You forgot
No,
that?
no, but he doesn't want pictures of your face. That's what I'm telling you.
No,
It knows.
because
It looks.
even
It looks.
if
It goes. It looks. It looks. It goes. It goes. His face. No way. We don't need pics of that. I'm not telling him when it's in the frame. We literally don't need pics of his face.
You're being
Oh.
horrible, Ed.
But frankly, let's be honest. So if you, like I said in there, if you're a self here, this is not going to be your phone
No.
because you're not going
It
to
is
know
not
when it has
accessible.
the correct whatever. You have to use something, a third party, like say open camera, for example, if you want to be able to interact or you know that you have something in the view of the camera, whether it's the back camera or the front camera, you'll have to use something like that. But other than that, I think a lot of the buttons, taking picture, the buttons, okay, and all of that. But as you can hear in my review, some of the buttons up there are not labeled. And TalkBack was doing the heavy lifting in some of those cases. And I do want to add here, frankly, if you're buying this phone, don't think of returning it. If you're just buying it to check it out, don't even go there, because if you don't want to go through the troubles, they have a toll-free number here in the States. And I tell you, the first time I tried to call it, it was just not ringing at all, just hanging up. And then to go on their website to try to fill it out, it's a nightmare. That site is not great. And I like Google's return policies better. And then you will also, if you finally got something going, you got someone, then you need to take a picture of the phone and send it to them. You need to do this and that. It's a nightmare. I almost didn't feel like returning it. But
Um,
I'm
so
fine
to
with it.
everyone, this is Warren basically acknowledging that the nothing phone is literally nothing.
Thank you, my dear. Absolutely.
And when you
Thank you.
and when you ring up, what happens? Nothing.
Nothing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Because
They've
it
done
doesn't
that
even
intentionally.
ring, nothing happens.
But frankly, so finally, when you get through, and then you're returning it, and you tell them the reason why you're returning it. For instance, I give 4 reasons. Number 1, I don't like the microphone on there. Number 2, I don't like the fact that the camera is not, very accessible to me as a blind person. Number 3, I don't like the fact that, the power is on the other side. And then the 4th one, I don't remember what it is. But as far as they're concerned, all that adds to no reason at all. And because of that, you are charged whatever for returning it. So if you buy this phone, make sure it's something you want to keep.
What company is that?
Nothing.
Oh, they're actually the company. I didn't know if it was Nothing Phone sold by somebody else.
Yeah, they're right there in the UK, Nothing.
Oh, you
Did
had
they
quite a lot to say about Nothing, really, didn't you?
I did. And another good thing, though, because I give kudos where kudos due, is the fact that I like you could, unlike the Pixel, where when you put in your PIN, then you don't have to tap that OK, or you have to turn on the settings that say, always bypass the OK. This phone is great that way, because whether you use a 4-pin or a 6-pin, it will just unlock your phone without the need to tap OK. So I give them credit where credit is due. It's a good phone, but I frankly don't like the way the haptics sound. It makes it sound like a tin can. And I'm very particular about, how things. I mean, I don't like sounds, but the haptics, I left it on to see what it is like, and I don't think I like its haptics.
You
Warren-
disable haptics on all your phones, though, don't you? So yeah.
I do as well. I do that too. Okay, I'm going to ask my question that will hopefully help the listeners, but I'm embracing my role of person who asks slightly stupid questions in the hope that they help somebody, me as well, hopefully. The camera thing, I just barely use my camera at all. So if I was going to take a photo on my Samsung now, would it tell me then that there was a face? Is that something?
Yeah. Your Samsung,
it
actually,
should do
Samsung
now.
will tell you. I mean, Samsung has that since the S5, and like I always say, we credit them for bringing that to Android. They were the very first ones that gave us that capability, and everyone thereafter followed them, especially Google. So Samsung has had that going back to the S5.
I've been using them for years, and I didn't even know that, because that's how often I use the
actually
camera.
use it for like if I'm getting ready to go on a Google meeting or something. I'll actually, like on my tablet, I'll have my tablet set up and I'll go to the camera app to act like I'm going to take a selfie, and it'll say like face, top left of the screen, 30% of the width or something like that. And then I'll just adjust it until it says I'm right in center. And then I'll go back to the Meet app before I join the call, so that I know
It's useful,
I'm lined
isn't
up.
it?
Yeah.
Nice tip, John. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. But if your phone doesn't, you can, as Warren said, install Open Camera. The Xiaomi will do that. The Pixel will do that. I don't think.
What about the Sony ones?
Doesn't the Sony do that though?
The Sony probably does. I haven't tried it on the Sony camera. I don't do many selfies. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
What's you using at the moment? You using a Sony at the moment?
I still have the
Xiaomi?
I'm using the Xiaomi. I still have the Sony, but I'm using the Xiaomi right now. I'd be surprised.
Were you just gonna make a hybrid phone then called a Shoni?
I was.
Or a Xiaomi or something.
A Xiaomi, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Like a hybrid, a cut and shut job where you chop them in half.
I believe
join them
Samsung called.
together.
Yeah, I believe Samsung called them folds.
Hey, now, Ed,
So the
seriously,
Pixel,
if you
Google, I
could
mean.
check the one on Sony to see if it tells you if there's a face in the view.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
The
curious.
Xiaomi definitely does. I'll check the Sony.